Hi, Pastor Josh, Willow Creek Bible Church. For Revelation study this week, what I want to do is I want to look at the timeline from the cross to the end of the world. It all begins with the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ around 33 AD. We have Pentecost, which ends the 69th week of Daniel chapter 9, verses 23 through 26. And in 70 AD, we have the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. And it's after this, right around here somewhere, that John writes the book of Revelation in about 80 to 90 AD. See, he wasn't thrown into prison until after 70 AD, or on the Isle of Patmos, until after 70 AD. And so he wrote the book of Revelation while on the Isle of Patmos. So, we are here in what is known as the church age, or the age of the Gentiles, from the cross to the beginning of the Great Tribulation. We don't know how long this church age will last. But the Great Tribulation begins right here with the sacrifice at the temple, which requires a 7-year peace treaty, a one-world government, and the beast that comes. So we have to have the temple. The third temple is rebuilt. That's the beginning of the Great Tribulation. It is the 70th week that begins here, Daniel chapter 9, verses 27. And then we have the 7 years of the Great Tribulation. And in those 7 years, first 3.5 years, there's sacrifice at the temple, the halfway point. At the halfway point, the Antichrist seats himself in the temple of God, Daniel 9:27b, and causes all to worship the image that he gave life to. And this is where he proclaims that he is God and people should worship him. Then you have another 3.5 years until the end, the 70th week ends, Daniel chapter 12, verse 11. And we see this, the Great Tribulation ends with the Battle of Armageddon, the coming of Christ, and Satan imprisoned for 1,000 years. Now, there is a discrepancy of 45 days as recorded in Daniel chapter 12, and then the millennial reign of Christ on earth for 1,000 years. At the end of the 1,000 years, we have the final battle, which is called the Battle of Gog and Magog. And Satan is released for a short time. He gathers the world together to fight, and God says that's enough. The end of the material universe, the end of time, the end of all sin and iniquity. And then we are standing at the great white throne of judgment in eternity future.